Hello, friends on TikTok, or not TikTok, YouTube. Um, if you've watched these before, you know that it takes a minute to get people into the room. I appreciate you bearing with me while that happens. Thanks a lot. Appreciate that very much. A cold emoji face has joined, and Tanya has joined, and Quark has joined. I used to use a newspaper design program called Quark. Hello, Kevin. Welcome to the room. I'm glad you're here. Hello, Ben. Welcome. Glad you're here as well. Andy, good to see you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, wherever you happen to be on this fine planet of ours. 4 weeks clean. That is freaking fantastic. That is fantastic, Andy. What do you attribute the success to? I'm curious what has worked for you. You're talking 4 weeks now. You are at the very beginning of the process of your brain starting to heal on the physical level. So, what? No idea, just did it. So, do you think you can keep going with this? Did you have a lot of urges? Did you have a lot of triggers? How did you go 4 weeks? Was it easy? Did it feel like it was a slog? Do you think you can go another 4 weeks very easily? I'd be very curious to learn your story. I'm always curious to learn what's going on with people, how they defeated porn addiction, how they're coping with betrayal trauma if they are the partner. This stuff is fascinating for me. The more I can learn from people, the better off I am. And the more I can help other people if I am learning about this stuff. So would love to hear anything you have to say about it. Allow me to introduce myself very quickly. If you wouldn't mind tapping up some likes while I introduce myself, I'd appreciate that. My name is Josh. I was a porn addict for 24 years. That is absolutely true. I was a porn addict for 24 years. I was also an alcoholic for 22 years. I have been clean and sober now for nearly 11 years. In March, it'll be 11. And I am relapse free the entire time. I have written 4 books about porn addiction and betrayal trauma. And a couple years ago, I became a full-time certified pornography addiction coach, a full-time certified betrayal trauma coach, and a therapeutic disclosure specialist. So I work with the porn addict. I work with their partner who feels betrayed and hurt. And then I work with the couple as a whole to try and rebuild communication and try to rebuild trust. That's very difficult in a relationship after someone has betrayed their partner, after somebody has lied to their partner for so long, and then they're found out. That's very difficult to come back from. If I could urge all of the men here, because 95% of my betrayed clients are females, if I could urge the males here for one thing when they are in a relationship, don't lie about your porn use. Be upfront about it, because 100% of those clients who I see, they tell me they could deal with the porn. They'd figure out how to deal with porn addiction. They would learn. However, the bigger problem is that there was the lying. There was the lying about porn. Because if you've been lying about using porn for months or years, the question comes up, what else have you been lying about? What else have you told the truth about? And that can be a pretty deep scar in a relationship, a much deeper scar than just simply saying I use porn, but to learn that the person you love has lied about it so long. So for the guys here listening, I hope that will drive a point home. If you're dating, be honest about it. And if you are not dating yet and you're working to get rid of it, that's fantastic. Just don't lie about this stuff. Anyway, I am hoping that if you have any questions about pornography addiction, you'll go ahead and put them in the comments. If you have any questions about betrayal trauma, trauma in general, addiction in general, how to speak to your partner about some of this stuff, happy to give you answers, happy to give you opinions. I would love to hear your stories as well, whether it is how you've been successful or how you've been struggling with porn, or how you're dealing with your partner's porn addiction, and how that process has been going for you. And of course, just Happy New Year, just happy New Year. I'm going to begin today by answering the question that we get more than any other. All I'd ask is that you tap up some likes while I give you the answer here. So I just ask that you tap up some likes while I explain this. Early on in a live, tapping up those likes can make all the difference between whether we see 300 people in an hour or whether we see 3,000 people in an hour come through here. So please share it. Please like it. Follow me just like, you follow anybody else if you find this worthwhile. But the question that we get more than any other, and if you hang out here long enough, you'll see it, is how do I begin to quit? How do I start quitting pornography? And the answer that I have found that is most effective is that you need to figure out your motivation first. Why must you quit? It's not a matter of, you're probably not going to do it if it's a matter of, well, I should quit, or I know I ought to quit. I mean, yeah, we know we should work out more. We know we should eat better, but that's not going to happen for most of us. Why must you eat better? Well, maybe the fried food gave you a heart attack. Why must you exercise? Well, maybe that takes care of, your bad circulation. When we must do something, we tend to do it. So the question is, what is your must for quitting pornography? What will pornography take away from you if you don't quit it? Where will you be in 5 or 10 years if you don't stop the pornography? What will it take away from you that you can't get back? Maybe it's your relationship with somebody. Maybe it's you don't think you'll ever be able to get in a relationship until you quit it. Maybe you quit for your health, whether that's physical, whether that's mental. Maybe you quit because you're using in inappropriate places, work, school, other people's houses, whatever it may be. This is one of those things that you have to determine what your must for quitting is. What is your must? And is that going to be enough to fight back the urges, to fight back the triggers on those difficult nights, on those times where you are feeling it? Can you go to your motivation and say, this is more important? My mental health is more important. My partner is more important. It's really an individualized thing because your motivation is your motivation. The real Carlos Beltran, something tells me that may not be true. Why does corn feel better than the real thing sometimes? Because you're doing it for a different reason. The real thing feels great when you are in that intimate mind state, when you are, for lack of a better term, feel horny. But that's not why most people use porn in a compulsive way. That's not why porn addicts use. We use to get the brain chemicals going. Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins. These are the pleasure chemicals. But they're not pleasure chemicals like, you get pleasure being with your partner. These are chemicals that are going to help alleviate anxiety, alleviate stress, make you forget about your problems, make you feel in control, make you feel powerful. Just because getting with a real person and masturbating to pornography both end in an orgasm does not mean they have very much more in common. Addicts are not looking at porn because they, really love naked people more than an average person. They're using it because they're dependent on those mind chemicals more than an average person. Whoops. My, what do you call it here? My tripod is a little bit messed up today. So, yeah, please, if you have any questions, do contribute here. If you have any comments, do contribute here. If you are looking for any one-on-one time coaching, whether you are an addict, whether you're the partner of an addict, or whether what you want to get your relationship back on track with communication and trust, even if it isn't about pornography, I can do all of these things for you. And if you're interested, check out the front page of my profile. Up in the bio, there's a link. One of the links says Calendly, and that can help you out as far as learning how to book a session with me. Please keep tapping up the likes. Let's see if we can get to 1,000 before I finish my next answer. So please keep tapping. James asks, how important is replacing corn with something else in the process of recovery? Well, I mean, just on a strict mathematical standpoint, if you have been using porn 1 hour a day, every day, you now have 7 hours in your week. So it is going to help if you find something to do. It is, maybe you can make recovery what you spend that time doing. Watch some YouTube videos during that time. Read a book about it. Hang out in my lives. Watch my videos. Whatever it is, you do need to replace it, but you have to make sure you're not replacing it with another behavior that is just going to lead you down the wrong path. If you have a partner, they may be thrilled that you're playing video games or that you're, playing online poker instead of looking at porn. But if you are still utilizing activities that are designed to feed your addiction, which most addictions will do that. Just switching addictions doesn't fix anything. You don't want to replace corn with another addiction. But yeah, mathematically speaking, you are going to have additional time. Why don't you try to do something healthy with it? Try to do something healthy with it? Jason, or Jerison, excuse me, my friend. I didn't mean to get that wrong. Is there a way of moderation with it, or is it just bad in general? Well, here's the thing, Jerison. Most people can use it. I'm not going to lie about that. Most people can use it, and it doesn't become an addiction. It doesn't become a compulsion. It's really okay for 80 to 85% of the population. They will not get the symptoms of addiction. But that, again, is moderation. We're talking 1-2 times a month. If you are using more than that, then yes, it is bad for your health. Now, we can also talk about the moral aspects, the ethical aspects, how it's made, how it's distributed, all of those. I just don't usually make that my concern with the education that I spread about this stuff. So if you're okay with that stuff, if you're okay with the ethical aspects of it, if you are using once a week, twice a week, that's when you're starting to get to the point that this is going to start affecting you. This is going to start playing a role in your brain chemistry. So be very careful. It's one of these things like drinking. There are more people than not can do it. But if you fall into using it as a crutch, if you fall into addiction, often it's too late before you recognize you're there. Earthbound Boy, Happy New Year, Coach. Happy New Year to you, Earthbound Boy. I appreciate the well wishes. Thank you very much. Tobes, thanks for all the lives. I love Dharma Recovery. glad you do. I'm not really familiar with Dharma recovery. I do remember Dharma and Greg. That was an okay show. Thank you for all those likes, everybody. We got to 1,000. Let's try to head for 2,000 now. You just got to tap this up. If I say something you like, please share this. You never know who is going to be the next person to get this in their algorithm. And that person may need this. So by tapping up likes, by sharing, even if you're not going to need this information, even if you would never come to see me in a session, somebody else may, and the algorithm is an active algorithm is what brings it to them. So absolutely, I'd appreciate if you'd keep tapping, keep sharing, keep following, whatever you need to do. It's Jay. Hello. Nice to see you. What do you think causes that kind of addiction? In my experience, both going through recovery as I did and now having worked as a coach for the last 5 years, I can tell you it's trauma. It's 100% trauma, because here's what happens, Jay. Basically, something happens when you're young, something traumatic, and that can be physical trauma, sexual trauma, mental and emotional trauma, spiritual trauma, situational being like you're in an earthquake or you wake up and your house is on fire. Anyway, so something happens to you when you're young, right around that you just can't deal with because you don't have those skills. So what happens, instead of developing those skills, right around this time point, you are introduced to pornography, or you start to recognize using pornography more often makes you feel very good. Now, you don't understand it's more in the brain than down there, but you use because you have developed a problem-solving skill. When you use, you don't think about that bad thing. When you use, you can escape that bad thing. The anxiety and stress caused by that bad thing take care of themselves. So what you learn is that here is my way to deal with my problems. Here is my way to deal with the negativity in my life. You don't have to develop healthy problem-solving skills. You don't have to develop healthy coping skills because you have this addiction that takes care of everything. Well, at 13 years old, that may be one way to handle things, but at 23, you're going to have very different problems. You're going to have to handle your problems very differently. But you don't know how because you've been using this crutch of pornography. And that's really what the issue is that you become dependent on this one coping skill. And your mind, over time, because of a phenomenon known as neuroplasticity, your brain changes over time to crave the chemicals that are produced when you become an addict. So it's your body and your mind almost working against you. But you can undo this. You absolutely can undo this. You can stop the behaviors of pornography watching, of masturbating, and you can also work on resolving that trauma that happened early in your life by recognizing that you didn't develop the proper coping skills, and by doing that, by going back and dealing with that stuff. That's what I help people do. Making sure I'm not falling behind on too much. Joshua Allen. Wow, that's my first name and my middle name. If you're still here, very cool name. Earthbound Boy. Personal question: are you a believer of a higher power or God? I believe that there is some order to the universe that we don't understand yet. I believe that I have a spiritual core that has a lot of faith, but as far as needing a specific deity, as far as needing a specific book, as far as having to go hang out at a specific place on Sundays, I don't have any of that. I was raised Catholic, and the only time I step into a church, a synagogue, a mosque, or anything like that is for some kind of ceremony, usually wedding or funeral. But no, I'm not an active churchgoer. And instead of saying God, I say universe. You know, instead of God, I say universe. How can you consider yourself a professional when you know nothing about Dharma recovery? Um, there's probably stuff if it is at all uh, new age, if it is not based in science, if there are no I will tell you, in all of the reading that I have done about pornography addiction, I have not come across Dharma recovery in any studies or anything like that, but it is something for me to look up afterwards. So while I don't think you need to insult people, I will look it up and try to learn. Jay says, problem is I don't understand why. Sex to me seems gross and painful. Well, it can be both of those things at times. But sex is not really what addiction is about. Now, if you're just a casual user of pornography, you're doing it to get off. You're doing it to get a sexual thrill. You're doing it as a surrogate for the real thing. When you're an addict, it doesn't really matter what's on the screen most of the time. You have just learned that viewing this material and touching yourself is going to cause you to feel good. Now, most people think it's because they're looking at the sex. That's not really the case. They feel good because they're getting that chemical reaction in their brain. That's what they're truly after. And there are plenty of people who probably feel like sex is gross and painful, but still are porn addicts because it really serves a different beast than the real thing. Favorite horror movie? Do you consider Midsummer a horror movie? It would be Midsummer if that is considered in that genre. Jay says, I don't really tell people this because it's embarrassing to talk about. Oh, I know that, Jay. And when I have my first time clients in a session, one of the first things I let them know is this is completely anonymous. This is completely confidential. You're only talking to me here, and I'm not going to shame you. I'm not going to make fun of you. How can I judge you when I was an addict for 24 years? I understand it's taboo. I understand it feels shameful. It feels embarrassing. But you got to talk to somebody about it if you want to get rid of it. I have never, whether I was going through recovery 10 and a half years ago or whether I was coaching anybody going through recovery over the last 5 years, I've never seen anybody do it completely alone. So, Jay, you probably need to, if you want to take care of this the right way, you probably need to start talking to somebody about it. Sandra, good to see you. Thank you for tapping up all those likes. You know how much I appreciate that, and I appreciate you being here. Chris Cognizant. I don't know what that means. Have you been told me to get some money to do this for you? Can you have to get some money from? Have you been told me to get some money to do this for you? Have you get some? I don't know what that means, dude. Chris, if you can rephrase that. Juicy Fear says, yeah, I do. Good movie. Okay. Then my favorite horror movie is number 1, Midsummer. Number 2, The Thing. Probably number 3, the original Shining. Happy New Year, Domit. Hope this is the year of freedom. Well, considering we're so close to war and we have alien drones flying around and President Musk is going to start soon. I don't know if this will be the year for freedom, but you know what? Try to make it the year that you're content. Try to make it a year that you're content. Don't worry about happiness. Happiness will come in little pieces here and there along the way. Just try to be content. Just try to be chill. And life will be a lot better. And, get rid of the pornography addiction this year. You can do it. Nobody's going to do it for you. And if you just stop the behavior, that's not going to be enough. You're going to have to dig deeper. I'm sorry. I don't care if you watch my lives, every day for 100 days in a row. You're still going to have to do deeper work than just stopping or just listening to my ass. Anyway, please keep tapping up the likes. Appreciate that very, very, very much. And again, if you have anything to share, please feel free. Always looking for new comments. Always looking for new stories. Always looking for anything you have to add. I know it's a holiday, so it's a little bit quiet in here. We can get into deeper conversations. Isn't that nice? The thing is, my second favorite right behind IT 2017. The thing is, my second favorite. Oh, okay. You said thing lowercase, so I'm like, what thing are we talking about? The thing is my second favorite right behind It 2017. Yeah, I actually read the book It years and years and years ago. I'm from Maine, so it's kind of a state law that we all have to read old Stephen King because he's from here. And so I've read 5 or 6 Stephen King books, and I generally don't like the movies. The only movie that I would feel held up to the book was probably Misery. Although Shawshank Redemption was pretty damn good too, because the book was pretty good too. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about. Or we could talk about whatever you want. Sticks 2025, no corn. That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. And I'm glad you like my vision of freedom. Juicy Fear, Colin, thank you for clicking up all those likes. Appreciate it very much. If you have anything to add, please go ahead and do that. If you have anything to say, please go ahead and do that. And you brought up a good point there. Sticks 2025, a year without porn. It can be. This can be your year without porn. This can be your year that you dump this stuff if you want to. Now, the question is, do you want to? You probably know you should. You probably know it's not good for you. You probably don't feel great after you use it. But is that going to be enough to drive you to stop this year? That's a bigger question, I think. That's a bigger question, I think. Are you going to be able to find the strength? Are you going to find the courage to get help from it? Are you going to find the courage to try different ways? How can you make 2025 successful in ways that 2024 weren't? Joseph Joyce, 6 days clean. It has been a while since you've done that. It's been a while since you've done that. Hi, Carol. Congratulations, man. Congratulations. I know it's been a struggle for you. 6 days clean, and it's 2025. I don't care about streaks, but today is a great day to stop. Today is a great day to begin a new journey. It's just another day. January 1st, 2025 is just how we measure time. Today is really no different than yesterday, no different than tomorrow. The sun will rise, the sun will set, the earth will turn. But you can make a difference in your life. And as somebody who gets further and further away from addiction, the older I get, the better I feel. I am so upset that I pissed away my teenage years. I pissed away my 20s. I pissed away the first half of my 30s before I finally had the courage and I finally had the willpower to seek help for the addiction and to seek the proper kind of help, not just the, I'm going to stop this, because that doesn't work. That doesn't work. It's a much deeper process because pornography addiction is a disease. Pornography addiction is a disease. It messes with your brain's chemistry. So ultimately, you need to take this seriously. You need to have a strategy for quitting. This isn't going on a diet. This is about a wholesale lifestyle change, but you can make it. I've seen people as young as 17 and 18 make the changes they need to make. And I've seen people in their late 60s do it. It's never too late, and it certainly is never too early to tackle your pornography problem. And I've seen people of every age recover. I've seen men and women recover. I've worked with a lot of women, and I actually feel, I probably have a higher success rate with women than men. You can do this. I don't want you to think that you're the unicorn who can't heal. You can heal. You just have to want it, and you just have to be willing to put your ego to the side, to put, your risk the shame, risk the embarrassment. Start to work with someone, whether it's a therapist or a coach like me, or a psychiatrist, or a 12-step group, or whatever it is. You'll be around people who aren't going to shame you. You'll be around people who aren't going to mock you. Start that process. Just take a step into it. The Hammer. What is the type of help did you seek besides just holding it in? I at the very beginning, I went to rehab for several weeks. And then when I got home, I got a therapist and I got a coach. Over time, that coach became two different coaches. I still have that therapist. I still have those two coaches. And I have had to learn different skills. I have had to learn about the disease. I have had to learn a lot about myself. I have had to, and the biggest help and the help that I do with people as a coach is to figure out, why did you become a porn addict? What happened in your life? And how can you deal with whatever happened now so you don't have the urge for porn moving forward? Yes, that's what I do. I have the flu. How do I get over that? I think once you have it, you just kind of got to ride it out. Stay hydrated. Make sure you stay hydrated. Make sure you get enough sleep. And don't try to do too much. Good luck, Jordan. Jordan also asked, would you say some people just have more addictive personalities than others? There is no, we don't have enough science isolated at this point to say, oh, he's got the addiction gene. But I certainly do understand that. And if there is an addictive piece, then yeah, maybe that is part of it. Keep in mind though, Jordan, that about half the people who are addicts, doesn't matter the addiction, about half the people who are addicts also have a pre-existing mental health condition, whether that's ADD, ADHD, bipolar, Asperger's, although I don't think we still have that, ODD, any of these things. About half of addicts have these issues. And with these issues often comes some level of obsessive behavior, of compulsive behavior. So do I think that some people have more addictive personalities? I guess so. But that's probably for a reason different than the addiction itself. It's probably something else they're dealing with that just makes them more susceptible to compulsive behavior. How do I keep from unblocking blocked websites? Well, what I would say is if you keep unblocking them, it's not working. So try something else. If you keep unblocking the websites, why are you going through the charade of blocking them? If you keep blocking websites and then gaining access to them. Why are you playing this game where you lie to yourself? How do you keep from unblocking blocked websites? You don't go unblock them. I mean, that's as simple as it gets. If blocking them makes you feel like, oh, I'm doing something about my addiction, but then when you need those brain chemicals, you just unblock them, what good are the blockers really doing you? Instead of that, why don't you make a list of 10 things you can do when you feel urges? Make a list of 10 things you can do when the triggers start. Make a list of 10 things you can do when you find yourself starting to unblock them. Put your phone down. Put the laptop down. You have to be on a device to unblock it, so put the device away. Nobody needs to hear what you have to say, boss. Nobody learns anything from you they can't get from Google. You are the problem. Well, apparently I'm enough of a problem that you put 3 different comments in and have been hanging out here. So I'm going to guess that you either are in denial about how much you use or why you use, or there is some monetary advantage for you to make people not believe that porn addiction is a thing. And that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. Appreciate it, bro. No problem, Dylan. Glad you're here. Hope you're following me. Juicy Fear says he might be helpful to you or a lot of people, but he could help some people out. He's also nice. Thank you. Why are you watching then? Exactly. Because some people like to be trolls. That guy wants to be the center of attention, and we're all talking about this one subject, so he has to go 180 degrees opposite to get attention. Because if he didn't like this, if he didn't want to be part of this, he could just scroll past. But he stopped and he wrote because he wanted attention. That's fine. Kyla, when will my brain hear from the novelty for my partner? Please tell me so. It's hard to say exactly, Kyla. It's hard to say exactly. Have you stopped looking at porn? Have you stopped masturbating to porn? What are you doing currently with your partner? Are you still seeing? Are you still getting urges? Are you still getting triggers? It's impossible to say when your brain will heal, but you need to be doing as many things as you can to create the right conditions for it to heal. And that starts with not looking. That starts with not touching. That starts with not having a sedentary life. Eat well, exercise, do other things that entertain your brain. All of that will help you. All of that will help you move forward. Money, gonna try and get another session with you soon. They helped a lot. I hope so. I would love to see you in early 2025. I feel good about the people who have already booked in the last few days. I've got a nice run of people. I think there are a lot of people, both on the porn addiction and on the betrayal trauma side, who are making this a New Year's resolution or are trying to take care of this year. I am very optimistic based on seeing how many people have booked with me. And if anybody else out there who's listening is like, maybe I could benefit from talking to this guy, even if it's just one time, check out the front page of my profile. Up in the bio, there's a couple links. One of them says Calendly. If you click on that, you will be able to learn all you need to learn about booking a session with me. Kyla says, because some days I feel so emotionally numbed, but others I feel alive and there for my partner. Well, my question would be, do you believe that you have a pornography addiction? Do you believe that along with having this partner, who you do, love, who you are attracted to, who you are, bonded with on a much deeper level than you could ever bond with something on a screen. Um, how how long have you been working on this? And have you been do you believe you're an addict? Do you believe there are deeper reasons that you use? That's an important part of this. This is why I urge people to see me in private sessions so we can dig down into the nitty gritty of your details. Unfortunately, the live setup really only allows for generalized answers. But I'm sure that there are probably a few things. Why do you feel emotionally numb on some days? Why do you feel alive on other days? Something is causing that. Whether it's something that happens in your current life, whether it's something you think back about, whether it's, your reaction to a situation or a person, got to really look at what is happening. I do believe I'm an addict. I might have a couple things that really fermented my corn addiction. I think you mean fomented. Fermenting is the process by which beer or wine is made. Anyway, okay, so if you're an addict, you've got some different things going on in your brain than a non-addict. And the reason you use porn isn't the reason why you hook up with her. You use porn for a completely different set of issues. And you've got to take care of those issues if you want the focus to go back on the life with her or him. I don't know if you're a guy or a girl. Yeah. Ethan says, had a good session in the gym and feel strong today. Great way to start off your year, Ethan. Glad to hear that. Glad you're feeling strong. Day 1 of 365. You can feel strong every day. Kyla says, I feel like it's causing me to gaze upon my past relationships even though they've ended. Gaze as in like go back and look at Instagram pictures and, wish you were still with them and wish you could get with them, or gaze back on your relationships and realize that you've always been this way and this hurt in the past. Gabito says, yeah, you're right. Have you watched the news about Puerto Rico? We had a blackout yesterday. Yeah, I saw 80 to 90% of the island was without power. Merry friggin' Christmas, happy friggin' New Year to you. Were you without power? And when 90% of the island doesn't have power, how safe is that? How safe is that? Juicy Fear. What do I do to feel the same kind of enthusiasm that I have on some days? I'm kind of on and off. Well, if it's majorly swinging back and forth, I might go talk to your doctor to see if you have some kind of, mental health issue, some kind of physical thing happening with you. If this is because some days you have too much potassium and some days you don't, you're never going to know porn is never going to help anything. Porn is not the reason, you feel this way. I would go and have a blood test taken, have a full blood panel done to make sure that you're physically healthy. And if you're physically healthy, then you can start looking at, what happens on those days where you have enthusiasm? What happens on the day before you have enthusiasm? What happens on the days you don't? Something is triggering this either way. And, maybe it's just that you have 2 Red Bulls in the morning on the days you feel good, and you have nothing on the days you don't. There are so many variables why we feel good and bad that, porn can absolutely play a major factor, but you almost kind of have to narrow it down a bit more. And make sure it's not something else. Make sure it's not something else. I had my gallbladder taken out about 10 years ago. About a month before I had it taken out, I had a massive gallbladder attack. Went to the hospital. They did the ultrasound. They said, you've got a gallbladder full of stones. We'll take it out. We'll schedule it and take it out in about a month. About 3 weeks later, I had another major attack, and my father brought me to the hospital. And the doctor was there, and I was like, I know what the problem is. It's a gallbladder attack. I have a gallbladder full of stones. I was here 3 weeks ago. I think you need to take it out. That's what's wrong with me. And he looked at me and said, there's plenty of people who have died with a gallbladder full of stones from something else. And that dawned on me, oh yeah, the obvious problem may not actually be the problem. So make sure that even though you may believe that the porn is the problem, and it very well could be, and in most of my clients it is, just also make sure it's not something else that you're overlooking or something else you may not even realize you're in a situation with. Kyla says, just like their qualities, like certain appearances, dyed hair, etc., that my current does not have. Okay, well, that's fine. You can appreciate the beauty in other people, but appreciate the beauty in your current partner. If you are looking around for better looking people, if you are looking at friends or exes, if you're getting any sexual pleasure from that, if you are, I talk to a lot of my clients who, they'll look at Instagram at their friends. They'll look at TikTok of their friends. Some of them find out that their friends have OnlyFans pages and start using those. What's behind that? What's really behind that? Okay, your ex-girlfriend, you like her hair better. But why are you really going back and looking? I don't think it's because of her hair. And I bet you look at pictures where there's more skin showing than not. So is that about being dissatisfied and being not happy in your current relationship? Hi, Colin. You ever played Rocket League before? Is that the video game where you're like driving cars around and trying to get the ball into the goal, kind of like driving soccer? Yes. I have not personally played that, but I have watched my son play it before. But yeah, I have not personally played. I was never a video game guy, because you got to remember, when I was about 9 years old, 10 years old, that's when the Atari 2600 came out. That's when the Atari 2600 came out. While Space Invaders and Pac-Man at your house were lovely, they were 8-bit. And at the arcade, you could stand up in front of a cabinet, and the video games were like 16-bit, so they looked a little better. Far more energy at an arcade. So I loved going to arcades when I was young, but I had the original Atari, I had the Sega Genesis, I had a Super Nintendo, I had a regular Nintendo, but I just always loved the arcade more than anything else. I still, one day before I die, want to have an original cabinet of the Galaga game. Kyla says, I'm not even sure. I'm only on day 3. I feel it'll improve, but I have to tackle these emotions while rebooting with my partner. Yes, but keep in mind that our rebooting is a no-fap term that kind of makes you think that it's not going to take too long. If you're talking about rewiring your brain, if you're talking about, and it's not rewiring, it is your brain evolving based on neuroplasticity. And I'm not going to get into the fine details of how the brain science works, because we'll just chase everybody from the room. But understand that just white knuckling is not going to be enough. Understand that even if you give the time, if you don't look at porn, if you don't masturbate, yes, your mind will start to heal physically, but you already will have to start to do the work of why you became a porn addict in the first place. What happened to you? And this is not about you being a pervert. This is not about you being, some kind of sex fiend, or you having lower morals than someone else. That's not what it's about at all. It's not about, why did you make such a bad decisions? What's wrong with you? It's none of that. The question that we answer in my coaching is largely, what happened? What happened to you? Odds are, you didn't cause it. Odds are it's not your fault. And odds are you were not given the skills to deal with it. So how could you end up anywhere but here? Odds are this was exactly where you were headed, and it's not your fault. But we need to talk about what happened to you. Chris Cognizant. I try to get better at my skibbity riz with the Huss, and I want to be Sigma and my girl right de la. Another great entry, Chris. No idea what you're saying. And I think that's probably by design. So for those of you who are new in here, please allow me to introduce myself. If you've heard this 100 times, it's 101. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Josh. I was a porn addict 24 years. I was an alcoholic 22 years. I have been clean and sober now for almost 11 years, relapse-free the entire time. For many years, I wrote books, wrote 4 of them, and gave lots of speeches and did appearances about porn addiction and betrayal trauma. During the pandemic, I segued over into coaching. So I've been coaching now for nearly 5 years, pornography addiction, betrayal trauma, and I also am a therapeutic disclosure specialist. So if you have any questions, any comments, any opinions that you'd like to share, please go ahead and put them into the comments. I am here to answer them for you, at least for a few more minutes. As I said earlier, it's since it's a holiday today, we have a slower room. We have less people in the room. That can sometimes lead to better discussions, or if you've been in here before and you haven't wanted to say something, there's very few of us, so you could say it this time. Love to hear whatever you have to say. Love to hear whatever you have to say, as long as it makes sense. When you just put nouns and verbs and words I don't know together in a random order, there's not much I can do. Okay. Hey, Ash Tinks, glad you're here. Hope you are having a happy new year. Hope everybody is having a happy new year. This is, what will 2025 be for you? You have the power to make it the greatest year. You have the power to make it the worst year. It's all in the decisions you make. Best advice for first steps to quitting my addiction. Well, Matt, why must you quit? Why must you quit? Not why would you like to quit, or why do you think it's a good idea you quit? Why must you quit? What is pornography going to take away from you, Matt? What is it going to destroy in your life that you'll never get back? That's the most important thing to figure out before you start. You need that motivation. You need that reason to succeed. Maybe you want to succeed because it's hurting your relationship. Maybe you're worried you'll never get in a relationship if you don't quit. Maybe it's a health reason. Maybe you're worried you're going to get caught at work or school or someplace else. Whatever it is, your reason is enough. Your motivation is enough. But you have to figure out, what is your must? What is your must? In 5 years, I don't want to be using porn because porn will have taken away X, or porn will have destroyed Y. And I can't let that happen. So I need to recover. Stick says, "Are you spending New Year's alone?" You know what? Surprisingly, last night my wife was up for at midnight for the ball dropping, and I don't think she had been for the last 10 years. My daughter is old enough now that she goes out and has fun with friends. My son, despite being 21 years old, since he's been like 4 years old, he spent the New Year's Eve with his grandmother and grandfather, my parents, just a tradition they have. Smell bell, yay, look at these. Hello, it's good to see you, Ellie. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, so I was with my wife at midnight, and then today it's kind of like a Saturday around here. My wife is off work. I've already done one session. I'm doing this live. I'll work on some other projects later. Maybe I'll come back and do a live later. Maybe I won't. But it's just another day for me. Happy New Year 2025. Cool. And in a year, it'll be 2026. And I hope I get to see 2050 or 2060. But again, I look at a lot of it as just, this is how we measure time. We could measure time a different way, and this could be year 13,860. It's just how we codify it. Matt says you're cooking right now, probably on what you must do. Again, thank you for the 2025 glasses, Ellie. Appreciate that. What's up? Happy New Year. I'm doing pretty well. Last year at this time, I was a little bit depressed. I was feeling a little bit down. I know that I wasn't on the proper medication. So this year is much better. Christmas was awesome. Low key. New Year's was low key. I'm now at a point in my life where low key is okay. Low key is very okay. I hope you and your new relationship is going well. And I hope the baby's doing well too. I hope you're having a great beginning of 2025. And I know 2025 will be even better for you than 2024, which I think was better than 2023. So you are on an upward trajectory, my friend. And I'm happy to see that. And I'm proud of you for all the advances you've been making over time. He's looked at rings with his mom. Well, that's good. Does he know what you like? Are you ready for that? Make sure you communicate correctly. Bye, I'm going on my phone 2%. Bye, Sticks. Good to see you. Happy New Year. Thanks for being here. Make sure you know what kind of ring he like. Make sure you kind of ring that you like. All right, let's mute and let's block. I'm tired of Chris. Anybody else tired of Chris? Yay. Good. I'm glad you all think so. We won't have to listen to Chris anymore. You're welcome. So, yeah, I'm glad that, are you ready to consider marriage? Have you been with this guy long enough? I know he loves your son. I know it's a much better situation than you were in the past, but just make sure that you are ready. Just make sure that you are ready. And again, you deserve all the happiness in the world. I have now been on TikTok just over 4 years. So it's nice, all the people I've met along the way, seeing how they change. That's what I love about being an addiction coach and a trauma coach, is that the people who stick with me, I get to see them change over time. And you are one of them who has been a success story, Ellie. In the summertime later, I think yes, we'll be ready. Yeah, make sure the weather's nice for it. Um, and the question is just, what Lana Del Rey song are you going to walk down the aisle to? I was never When You Know, You Know, which is one of the lines in Paris, Texas, off of her latest album. Did you know that there's a tunnel under Ocean Boulevard? But now, when you know, you know. And I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that. It's nice to see nice things happen to nice people. All right, kids. I'm gonna call it. I've been in Margaret. I've thought about a video games instrumental, but I'm not sure. That's interesting. That's interesting. Um, that could sound good. Yeah, that with the strings, that might sound real nice. Um, you know, Chemtrails Over the Country Club in the uh, instrumental might sound really nice. Um, yeah, that might sound really nice too. I'll have to think about this more and get back to you. Lucky you got Philharmonic connections. Yeah, you got that Philharmonic hookup that we're all jealous about. Um, that and do you look at your life over the last 2 years, and are you amazed at how many changes you can make and how many changes there are? I mean, you were with a nasty, and I hope I don't slam your baby daddy too much, but you were with a nasty, uncaring guy who was just into himself, who clearly had lots of issues, who made you do certain things you didn't want to do, um, and now here you are, healthy, happy, single mom with a great guy. It's just amazing how much the world can change. And that's one of those things that, you know, I try to drive home to people. When you start to make positive changes, there are ripple effects. You know, I had a client very recently who he basically goes home after work and he sits in front of the TV and he plays video games. And he watches porn, he plays video games, and he's been waiting for something different to happen for a long time. Nothing's going to change until he starts changing the way he makes decisions, until he starts shaking things up, until he gets out of his comfort zone. And you're somebody who did that, Ellie, and that's impressive. Take notes, y'all. It wouldn't have happened without this dude helping along the way. That is a wonderful testimonial. Thank you. Um, Hear that, everybody? I helped her. It wouldn't have happened without me. And I don't even want to be a cult leader. That's not true. I totally do. Um, I just don't have the organizational skills or the funding. Um, but yeah, no, it's the success stories like you, Ellie, are the thing that keep me going with this. And knowing that I'm able to, on a personal level, knowing that I'm able to help people in the same way that I used to hurt people when I was an addict. When I was a porn addict, when I was an alcohol addict, I used people, I manipulated people. I did what I needed to do. I was not empathetic. I did not care about them. I cared more about business. I cared more about my happiness. I cared more about feeding my addictions. And now, 15 years ago, if you told me what I'd be doing now, I probably would have called myself a homosexual slur and said, what happens to me? Why do I turn into a pussy? But that guy was an insufferable, miserable little bitch. he was not healthy. He was not happy. He was scared. He was fearful. Cool. Let him cook. I've never seen that one. Thank you for the finger hearts too, Ellie. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate that. 2025. Thank you for a couple of those as well. Anybody else who wants to give any gifts, please feel free. Every little bit helps. When I get that $20 check from TikTok at the end of the month because of the gifts or because of other things, every little bit helps. So appreciate that very much. And, appreciate you, Ellie. It's... Again, you are a reason why I do this. And if anybody else wants to try this, if anybody else wants to start meeting with me, if anybody else thinks now is the time to get my shit together, whether you are an addict, whether you are the partner of an addict who's experienced betrayal, or whether you're in a relationship that needs help, that needs some straightening out, where you need to work on communication and truth. I am accredited to do all of these things for you. Just go up into the bio on my front page and click on the links, and you'll find all the information that you need in the Calendly link. If anybody has anything else to say, I'd love to hear it. If anybody else has any more comments, any questions, want to share your opinion, want to share a story, I would love to hear it. Otherwise, I am going to call it an afternoon doing this because I have some other stuff to do. Maybe I'll be back later, not sure. And want to remind you all that you can make 2025 the best year ever. You just have to make the decisions to go ahead and do it. You just have to take that first step. First step involves risk. Risk involves fear. But when it pays off, it's so worth it. Corn addiction, iGen, is that it? iGen? Corn addiction is the code word that we have to use for porn addiction because TikTok won't let us write the word porn. We can say it, but we can't write it. So the code word for porn, and you'll probably see this a lot now, the code word for porn on social media is generally corn. So you learn something on the first day of the year. So, Jen, I hope that, or iGen, I hope that you can learn something new every day in 2025. And I'm just touched and proud that I was helping you to learn what corn was. And hopefully you don't have an addiction to it. Thank you for the Happy New Year, Therese. Thank you very much. I appreciate how much you were here in 24. I appreciate all those likes, all those shares. I appreciate all those comments. You're a very, very valuable member of this community. So, Happy New Year to you too, my friend. All right. Calling it an afternoon. And like I said, may be back, may not. If you're following me, you will see. That's sweet, Teresa. Thank you. I'm glad I've been able to help you. That makes me feel good. That makes me want to keep doing this kind of stuff. So thank you for letting me know that. I appreciate it. All right, folks. We will see each other the next time.